Animals that kill for pleasure. For most of human history, we told ourselves a comforting story about nature. That animals kill only when they are hungry, only when they are threatened, only to survive. But the deeper scientists looked into the natural world, the more disturbing the truth became. Because some animals don't kill for food. Some don't kill for defense. And some species appear to enjoy violence in ways that feel deeply uncomfortable to us. Not because it's unnatural, but because it feels familiar. What you're about to see isn't fiction. These are real behaviors documented by researchers around the world. And once you notice them, it's difficult to look at nature the same way again. We tend to romanticize animals. Movies portray nature as balanced, peaceful, almost moral. Predators hunt because they have to. Prey suffer because that's the cycle of life. But nature was never designed around morality. Nature only rewards what works. And sometimes, cruelty works surprisingly well, especially among intelligent social animals. The more complex a creature becomes, the stranger its behavior often gets. Not just cooperation, not just empathy, but dominance, bullying, territory, punishment, and in some cases, violence without necessity. One of the most disturbing examples of this comes from an animal people usually love: dolphins. For decades, dolphins were viewed as symbols of intelligence and peace. Friendly, playful, almost human. But marine biologists eventually discovered something darker hiding beneath that image. Male dolphins have been documented attacking and killing baby dolphins. Not for food. Not because they are threatened. In many cases, the attacks appear connected to reproduction. By killing infants, females may become fertile again sooner. From an evolutionary perspective, the behavior increases reproductive opportunity. But watching it happen feels horrifyingly cruel. Groups of dolphins have also been observed violently harassing smaller marine animals, sometimes tossing them through the water repeatedly. Not eating them. Not defending territory. Simply interacting with them in ways researchers still struggle to fully explain. The unsettling part isn't just the violence. It's the intelligence behind it. Dolphins are highly social animals. They recognize themselves in mirrors. They communicate through complex sounds. They form alliances. Some researchers even compare dolphin social structures to primitive human societies. And maybe that's exactly why their darker behavior disturbs us so much. Because intelligence doesn't automatically create kindness. Sometimes it creates more sophisticated aggression. And dolphins are not alone. Chimpanzees may be even closer to us in ways we'd rather avoid thinking about. In the wild, chimpanzee groups have been observed carrying out coordinated attacks against rival groups. Not random fights. Organized violence. Patrols. Ambushes. Territory expansion. Researchers have documented chimpanzees isolating weaker individuals before attacking together. Sometimes the victim is left alive for hours afterward. And the most uncomfortable part is how familiar the behavior feels. Tribalism. Group loyalty. Violence against outsiders. Dominance hierarchies. These are not uniquely human traits. They existed long before humans built civilizations. In one famous case, researchers studying chimpanzees in Gom National Park witnessed what later became known as the Gom-Chimpanzee War. A split within a chimp community escalated into years of brutal conflict. Former allies turned against each other. Individuals hunted members of the opposing group one by one. The war ended only after one side was almost entirely destroyed. For scientists observing the events, it shattered the illusion that organized violence belonged only to humans. And perhaps the most disturbing realization was this: the closer animals are to human intelligence, the more recognizable their cruelty becomes. But violence in nature doesn't always come from primates. Sometimes it exists quietly inside animals we live with every day. Cats. Most domestic cats are fed regularly. Many never experience real hunger. And yet millions of birds, rodents, and reptiles are killed every year by house cats alone. Often the prey isn't eaten. Sometimes the animal is simply caught, injured, released, and hunted again. To humans, it can appear sadistic. But cats evolved as highly efficient predators. The hunting instinct is deeply embedded in their nervous system. Even when survival is no longer necessary, the behavioral circuitry remains active. The brain still rewards the hunt. And maybe that's part of what makes nature so uncomfortable to study. Evolution does not care about morality. Only repetition. If a behavior increases survival or reproductive success over thousands of generations, it stays, even when it looks brutal from a human perspective. And nowhere is intelligence mixed with predatory behavior more dramatically than in Orcas. Killer whales are among the most intelligent predators on Earth. They hunt cooperatively, teach strategies to their young, communicate through distinct vocal dialects. Different pods even display unique cultural behaviors passed across generations. But researchers have repeatedly observed orcas playing with prey in ways that seem disturbingly excessive. Seals thrown into the air. Fish stunned repeatedly. Long pursuits that continue after the prey is no longer a threat. Some scientists believe these behaviors help train younger whales. Others think they may reinforce social bonds or hunting skills. But to human observers, the scenes often feel unsettlingly theatrical. As if the hunt becomes more than survival. As if intelligence transforms predation into something psychologically layered. And perhaps that's the pattern hidden beneath all of this. The more cognitively advanced a species becomes, the more complex its social behavior becomes. Not just empathy, not just communication, but also humiliation, manipulation, hierarchy, aggression. Many people imagine cruelty as the opposite of evolution. But nature suggests something stranger. Cruelty can itself become adaptive. A wolf pack isolates weakness. A chimpanzee tribe eliminates rivals. A dolphin increases reproductive success through infanticide. Nature does not separate efficiency from suffering. Humans do. And maybe that's why studying animal behavior can feel so psychologically disturbing. Because it forces us to confront an uncomfortable possibility. That many human behaviors we consider uniquely civilized, or uniquely monstrous, may have far deeper biological roots. Territorial aggression, social exclusion, dominance displays, bullying, revenge. None of these emerged suddenly in modern society. Versions of them existed long before language, long before culture, long before humans. Another disturbing example comes from an animal almost nobody expects: otters. For years, sea otters were portrayed as adorable symbols of marine life, floating peacefully across the ocean, holding hands while they sleep, looking almost harmless. But biologists studying otter behavior discovered something deeply disturbing. Male otters have been observed violently attacking baby seals. Not to eat them. Not for territory. In some documented cases, the attacks continued long after the seal was already dead. Researchers were shocked by the level of aggression displayed during these encounters. And once again, scientists face the same uncomfortable question. Why would an intelligent animal engage in excessive violence when survival isn't involved? The answer may lie inside one of evolution's most dangerous inventions: the reward system. Many predators experience neurological reinforcement during hunting behavior. Adrenaline, dopamine, stimulation. The chase itself becomes neurologically rewarding, which means evolution may accidentally create animals that enjoy aspects of violence itself. Not emotionally, the way humans describe pleasure, but biologically. And suddenly, the line between survival and compulsion becomes blurry. This pattern appears again and again across nature. Foxes have been known to enter chicken coops and kill far more animals than they can possibly eat. Scientists call this surplus killing. One predator, dozens of dead animals, sometimes left untouched afterward. To humans, it feels irrational. But evolution did not optimize animals for morality or restraint. It optimized them for opportunity. If food is suddenly abundant, the nervous system may trigger repeated killing behavior automatically. Nature often behaves more like a machine than a conscious moral system. And perhaps no animal demonstrates the terrifying efficiency of instinct better than ants. At first glance, ants seem simple. Tiny creatures operating on automatic behavior. But entire ant colonies have been documented launching massive organized wars against neighboring colonies. Millions can die in prolonged territorial conflicts. Some species even enslave ants from rival colonies, forcing them to work for the victors. Others raid nests specifically to steal larvae. Not food. Not resources. Workers. The deeper researchers study social insects, the stranger the parallels become. Territory. Expansion. Forced labor. Mass sacrifice. It begins to resemble primitive civilization. Which raises an unsettling possibility. Maybe complex violence is not an accident of intelligence. Maybe it is one of intelligence's natural consequences. The more social a species becomes, the more conflict emerges inside those social systems. And nowhere is social cruelty more psychologically disturbing than among crows. Crows are capable of remembering human faces for years. Scientists wearing masks while capturing crows discovered something remarkable. The birds not only remembered the individual faces associated with danger, they taught other crows to recognize them too. Entire groups began harassing specific humans they considered threats, even years later. But what truly disturbed researchers was what happened after some crows died. Groups of crows were observed gathering silently around dead members of their species. At first, scientists believed these were funerals. But later observations suggested something more strategic. The gatherings may function as information exchanges. The crows appear to study danger, learn from death, and identify threats collectively. It is intelligence shaped by survival pressure. Cold, analytical, almost calculating. And then there are chimpanzees again. Because some primatologists believe chimp behavior may reveal uncomfortable truths about early human evolution itself. In several documented cases, chimpanzees displayed what researchers described as political behavior: manipulation, alliance building, status competition, even deception. Lower-ranking chimps sometimes hide emotional reactions around dominant individuals. Others strategically groom stronger allies before conflicts. Power inside chimp groups is not maintained through strength alone. It often depends on social influence, fear, reputation, which sounds disturbingly familiar. And perhaps that's why humans are endlessly fascinated by animal psychology. Not because animals are completely different from us, but because they aren't different enough. The deeper science explores animal cognition, the more human behavior stops looking exceptional and starts looking evolutionary. Even rats display behavior that surprises scientists. In laboratory studies, rats have shown signs of empathy, freeing trapped companions instead of immediately taking food rewards. But under different environmental pressures, rats can also become violently aggressive toward weaker members of their group. Environment changes behavior. Stress changes behavior. Scarcity changes behavior. The same nervous system capable of cooperation can quickly shift toward cruelty under pressure. And humans may not be as separate from this process as we like to believe. Perhaps the most dangerous illusion humans ever created was the belief that intelligence automatically leads to morality. Nature suggests otherwise. Intelligence is simply amplification. It amplifies cooperation, but it can also amplify domination, manipulation, violence, psychological control. A highly intelligent predator is often far more terrifying than a simple one, because intelligence allows suffering to become strategic. Even among humans, some of the greatest atrocities in history required organization, planning, communication, and hierarchy. Not primitive instincts alone, but advanced cognition. And maybe that's the most uncomfortable realization hidden inside the animal kingdom. Cruelty is not always the opposite of intelligence. Sometimes it evolves alongside it. This doesn't mean morality is meaningless. Humans are still capable of empathy, ethics, compassion, and self-control on levels unmatched in the animal kingdom. But nature reminds us that intelligence alone is not enough to eliminate violence. Sometimes intelligence simply makes violence more strategic, more organized, more psychological. And perhaps that explains why people are simultaneously fascinated and horrified by these discoveries. Because when we watch animals displaying cruelty, we are not just observing them. We are partially observing ourselves. A reflection of instinct's evolution never completely erased. The natural world is filled with beauty. But beneath that beauty exists constant competition. Every ecosystem is shaped by pressure. Animals compete for food, for territory, for status, for mates, for survival. And evolution rewards whatever behaviors succeed often enough. Not what feels fair. Not what feels compassionate. Only what continues the species. Perhaps that is why nature feels both mesmerizing and terrifying at the same time. Because it reveals a version of life stripped of comforting stories. No justice. No fairness. Only adaptation. And maybe humans are not observers standing outside that system. Maybe we are still deeply inside it. The truth is, nature was never peaceful. It was never fair. And it was never designed to comfort us. For millions of years, life evolved through competition, through pressure, through survival. Beauty exists in nature. But so does brutality. And the two have always existed together. Maybe the real danger was believing otherwise. Because once you remove the fantasy, the natural world becomes far more complex than simple good and evil. It becomes something colder, older, and far more honest.